Ruby.
Yes.
For our headline today, we've done something a little bit different and we've gone with an interview with a very special guest.
Yes, a treasure, an Australian treasure, Samantha Jade.
Will she be considered the Australian Britney Spears almost, don't you think?
I can see her doing the Slave for You, Corey. I really can. Which I put my neck out doing on Saturday night, mind you. I really did. I woke up like this.
I am not surprised. Well, let's see how her neck is doing and if she's been throwing it out recently with any dance moves. Let's give her a call right now.
Samantha Jade, welcome to the Babble and a very, very Merry Christmas. What are you doing for Christmas this year?
Thank you. I have just got the good news that I can go home. I'm from Perth. I'm a WA girl, and as you guys know, the borders have been very firmly shut, and they just opened, so I can go home for Christmas. So I'm so happy.
Does that mean that you haven't obviously got any decorations like purchased or set up? Is everything in storage right now waiting for you to return?
No, I've still put up my tree. I'm a Christmas person, so that tree was up even before the 1st of December because I thought if there is any chance that I can go home, I still want to have the tree up for a little while. But my dad is so funny because I called him the other day and I was like, where's the tree? And he's like, oh, I'm waiting for you to come home. I'm not doing that. I'm waiting for you to come home. So I'm going to have to set that one up as well.
He's just playing that off as like being sentimental when really he's like, oh, God.
She knows how to do it and I trust her style. That's what that is.
Yes.
Are you guys like fairy light people? Do you compete with the other houses in the street?
We don't actually. We're fairy light people in the backyard. My dad is actually really amazing with that stuff. One year for my brother's birthday, which is November, and then he kept it up for Christmas, we had the whole backyard. He had draping fairy lights. I don't know how we did this. So the whole kind of top kind of area was fairy lights, but we don't compete. We just kind of, it's our little secret at the back of the house.
Do you have any Christmas traditions that you do every single year?
No crazy ones, but Christmas morning is our favourite thing. So my dad, since I was little, he films every single Christmas. So since I was little, I remember him with those massive, video all day, and now it's just the iPhone. But that's the nicest thing, I think, as a tradition, because we can now watch all of the Christmases that we've ever had.
So where are those tapes now? Are they just like in an attic somewhere?
They're in a box in our house. And actually for Christmas last year, my dad put some of them on like DVDs. So cute. And I was like, oh my gosh, DVDs, you have to put on a little USB. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll do that next year.
What a legend.
That's brilliant.
God knows where all those videos are of my mum forcing me to like say hi to my relatives over in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
When I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats on the new song.
Thank you.
New Boy. Am I correct in saying that that was written in reference to your partner?
Well, kind of. So, yeah, basically, I wrote it last year. So when you could actually go dancing and stand up in venues. So it was like summer, exactly this time last year when we wrote it. And so that, you can hear that within the track and the kind of R&B drums and that kind of thing. And the whole idea was me and the songwriter, we were talking about, when you first meet that person that you're like, oh, this is probably going to be the one. This could be it. And there's such a reservation, but there's also you just want to throw yourself into it. So, yeah, it was definitely about when I met Pat, and she was writing about actually a guy she just met. So it was more about her.
So when you first met Pat, where was that? Can you set the scene? We
had known each other for a really long time. So it was one of those weird things that we had known each other, but we were both in separate relationships for a while, and then we were both single, and then we were kind of like friends, but we didn't really look at each other like that. And then it was like this weird thing of like, oh, maybe because we'd try and almost be like, oh, there's this person that I know, like for each other. And then we were like, why don't we date?
That's such a guy thing to do, though, when you're interested in someone. You can kind of like test the waters by being like, hey, do you fancy Cliff? And they're like, no, not Cliff. And you're like, good, just checking. Was it you chasing him or was it Pat chasing you?
It's definitely him chasing me. And even he does that now. He's like, you were so hard to get.
Yeah. Except now he's probably like, well, you're writing songs about me now, so how tables have turned.
He's a lucky guy. I'm writing songs about him all the time. But, yeah, I think, for me, and I think that our age, like we were both 28 when we started like dating. I think at that age you're kind of like, I don't want to just like date and mess around. Like I want to be like, I'm going to be in this hopefully forever, but if not, a long time. Like I want it to be a proper relationship.
Have you locked in plans for the wedding next year?
We had them planned. So we got engaged not last year, the year before. And so we kind of wanted a long engagement, and I was like, let's enjoy being engaged, because I feel like that's a step that maybe is skipped through sometimes. So I was kind of excited to give that some time. Didn't realise it would be this much time, because obviously COVID ruined it completely, and we had to move the wedding twice already this year, because obviously I'm from WA.
Wow.
And so Perth, you know, that whole thing, and my whole family wouldn't be able to come. And so we've basically gone, this year's a write-off, we'll start planning next year.
Because I always thought it's got to be tricky, doesn't it, for someone like yourself, when you book in entertainment at your wedding, they've got to be nervous.
Yeah,
they're like,
who do you even choose?
I've got to perform in front of Sammy Jade. Oh.
And some interesting peeps are certainly going to be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? We actually talked about that, because we're both in music, and I was like, what do we do? Like, because we know a lot of musicians, like, it's both of our jobs. And, you know, I play gigs with a lot of people, and Pat, you know, hires a lot of people. And I was like, it's going to be terrible any way we slice it, because, like, someone's going to be offended.
Guy Sebastian's going to be like, what do you mean? I didn't get the call up.
He at least gets, like, the first dance song.
He definitely gets, because he's like, you know, Pat and I is one of our best friends. So, I mean, he's on a pedestal. But we were like, you know what? We're just going to have a DJ. We're going to have a DJ, and we're going to just play the original versions of songs that we love.
Right.
Love that. Do you have any kind of preference for what your first dance song would be?
We have a few that we love, and I really love old classics. Like, I love Etta James, and I love Frank Sinatra, and I love that very classic standards, you know, music standards, when it used to be that way. But I think we're still kind of deciding, because we both love music so much. We have so many songs. So I think, like, the playlist and those kind of things, that's going to be like the last thing we do.
Hey, when it comes to next year, one thing that I was thinking about, Ruby and I were talking, and we were like, you would be perfect as a potential judge on, let's say, I don't know, The Voice.
Yes. I mean, I would do it in a second. I would love to do that, because I've been a contestant on a show. So I think there's that's why I think Guy is so brilliant on all of the shows he's been a judge on, because he understands being in the judge's seat, and he understands being in the contestant's shoes also. And I think there's something to be said for that, because there's a certain amount of insecurity for the people up there being judged, that I know, I felt it, that you have to take into consideration when giving them, like, constructive criticism. So I would love to be a judge. It'll be 9 years next year since X Factor.
Because I thought as well, Delta's announced that she's staying at Channel 9, The Voice being at 7, Guy's rumoured to be staying on. I'm like, this is just set up so perfectly.
I mean, give them a call.
Ruby, on our to-do list.
Quickly. Well, the Daily Mail will probably jump on this.
Oh, yeah.
And that will plant the seed, won't it?
Totally, yeah.
Do you get many artists approaching you on social media and saying, Sammy, can you give me some tips? How do I make it in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I get a fair few messages, and I always, of course, write back, because I didn't have that insight or that platform when I was coming up. It was before the days of Instagram. I remember when X Factor started, like when I was on that show, Instagram was like kind of starting. And so we all opened our accounts on the show. And so we went like from zero to like all these followers, because it was the days of like what I actually thought the app was just to make pictures look cool. So I started putting up photos and putting all these filters on them, and then I realised I couldn't see them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to take all these terrible photos down. So don't scroll back too far on my Insta. But I definitely think that's such a nice thing that people can do now, is you can go direct to the artist and actually ask that.
So if people are hitting you up and saying, Sammy, what's the one bit of advice you'd give me? I'm a young singer. What would you say to them?
I would say, two things that helped me is that figure out what you love about singing and break it down. What is it that you really love about it? What is it that you need from it? Because there's a lot of layers there. You know, there's the actual singing, there's songwriting, there's the fame, there's, you know, the performance aspect. There's so many parts of it. But connect with what you love about it. And what I love about it is just singing a cappella, you know, with no music. That is my favorite thing because of how it touches people. And I think you need to know why you're doing it in order to then succeed. And also just to have the right people around you. I think that's probably the biggest thing. You cannot have yes people that tell you you're fabulous all the time. You need constructive criticism all the time.
So when you're writing a new song, is your go-to person your partner? Is that he'll have the first listen of an idea and go, hey, I like it, or no, I don't think that's the right one?
Yeah, he's so brilliant because he's got such musical ears. So I'm so lucky in that respect. So definitely I ask him. Guy, I ask a lot of advice for. He's such a mentor to me and so generous with his time. So I always ask him, I'm like, what do you think about this melody or this lyric? Or, you know, and he'll always give me his very honest opinion. And then my dad is such a music lover, and because we moved to LA when I was 15 and I was signed there for the 10 years before I did X Factor. So my dad's been listening to songs that I've written since I was like 12. So he knows by now. He's got a great ear.
So does he ever come to you and say, hey, I heard this on the radio. Isn't this a great song? It's called WAP. What do you reckon?
Maybe not that one, but
yeah. And what's the plans next year touring-wise? Have you got any dates in the mix?
Oh, my gosh, I'm just so happy that we can tour. It's like such a relief. This year's been so strange because we haven't been, you know, able to perform or be on planes. Like I'm usually on a plane every week. It's been so weird to be not using my suitcase at all. It's been much more neat in my house. But I think that for touring, my first thing is always that I can go to Perth, because I remember being a kid and no one would come to Perth. They'd always like chuck off the list. So that's always like my number one thing. So now that the borders are open, we can plan a tour.
Awesome.
Can't bloody wait. Sammy Jade, hope you have an amazing Christmas and good luck picking the DJ for the wedding next year.
Oh my gosh, I know. I mean, that's going to be hard in itself, finding the right DJ, but maybe just a playlist and an iPhone.
Spotify on shuffle.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
Have a good Christmas.
What do you want?